For what purpose does Mr. Massey seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk dealing with the Nix report.
The
Reserve a point of order.
point of order is reserved. The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 7910, offered
Without
by...
objection, the amendment will be considered as read, and the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes to explain his amendment.
My amendment is simply a reporting amendment. We need to get some information from the DOJ, from the Attorney General on the existing gun laws. Right now, the Nix background check for the latest year that we have numbers issued 112,000 denials, yet only 12 of those were federally prosecuted. So presumably they were rejected. I mean, the presumption is that you're rejected because you were an ineligible person to buy a firearm and you tried to buy a firearm. Why weren't they prosecuted to a greater extent? Why were only 12 out of 112,000 prosecuted? It's because the dirty little secret is most of those are false denials. Now you might say, well, it's better to be overly safe than to let a few through the cracks. The problem is that the current system is riddled with errors. If you have a similar name, phonetically pronounced or spelled to somebody else.
Yield? The gentleman yield?
Let me finish my amendment and then I'll yield. I'll happily yield to the chairman. So what happens with the false denials is that within racial and ethnic groups that share similar surnames and first names, you get a higher percentage of false denials. And some of these false denials are overturned, but a lot of them are not. And individuals who don't have the money or the resources to pursue this legally often either have to turn to individual sale or they don't complete the purchase at all, yet they were law-abiding citizens who had the misfortune of sharing a similar name. The problem with this, and this is why I want this report, is we're fairly certain that black males are 3 times more likely to be falsely denied during the Nix background check, and that Hispanic males are 2 times more likely to be denied falsely during a Nix background check because they share within their racial and ethnic groups similar names to people who are incarcerated. And we do have over-incarceration in this country, and there are a lot of black males incarcerated, so that you have the misfortune, if you're a law-abiding citizen within that racial group and you with the similar name, that you are more likely to get a false denial. So what my amendment seeks to do is to require a report, and this wouldn't turn over any personally identifiable data. All of this data is collected on the Form 4473. They have the data. They need to give it to us so we can determine if there are racial disparities. And this report would require the Attorney General to tell us how many background checks were determined ineligible, how many people and report this by race, ethnicity, national origin, sex, gender, age, disability, average annual income, and English language proficiency if available. And most of those demographic data points are available. And if there's nobody else that wants to speak during my 5 minutes, I'll yield back to, I'll yield to the chairman for his question. Okay, I'll yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does the gentlelady insist on a point of order?
Mr. Chairman, I don't insist on my point of order.
Gentlelady
In fact,
does not insist on a point of order, and we are prepared to accept this amendment.
Well, then I will allow you to accept it, and I will not request a recorded vote.
You don't want to question my judgment.
You have great judgment on this regard.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. Are there any further